Nice to hear Kevin's speech. The honoree, each year they honor someone past and present, and the honoree Augustus Sage fits nicely in with Kevin Lipton's comments. At age 16, a teenager, Augustus Sage, a rare coin dealer, founded the American Numismatic Society. One problem we have today in 2016 is that millennials, who are defined as people that were born from 1982 to date and were of legal age at the turn of the century, have iPhones, computers, and iPads and everything else, and are not too excited about a 1909 SVDB cent, but even if they were, they couldn't find one in circulation. So things are a little bit different. But going back further into history, when was the first coin dealer in America? Well, that's a question that's been debated back and forth. And it seems to be a man named John Allen, A-L-A-N, from Scotland, who was in business in the 1820s and sold coins to different people, including the mayor of New York City. But he also was an accountant and did other things. Sustaining yourself as a coin dealer full-time and doing nothing else was not possible. In fact, that really wasn't even possible until the 20th century. The famous Chapman brothers called themselves antiquarians, and they sold fossils, autographs, prints, birds' eggs, stamps, but most primarily coins. One thing where all the coin dealers here are very lucky, and I've mentioned to David Hall this many times, and probably to Kevin, that when we started out as kids to be in a business, we picked coins. If we had picked bottle caps, if we had decided to do anything else, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have the rich memories of different people. We wouldn't be part of a, quote, hobby or industry, whatever you want to call it. So we're very lucky. Luck plays a part in what everybody does. Now, Augustus Sage, in 1850, Augustus Sage in 1857, that being a pivotal year. In 1857, they discontinued the large copper cent and the large copper penny, most people called it, and half cent. And a wave of nostalgia went across America. People that had jingled pennies in their pockets since childhood said, oh my gosh, we're not going to have them anymore. We'll have these little flying eagle things. And can I get as many different dates as possible before they all disappeared? And they would look through circulation and they would try to get one going back to 1793. The problem coin was 1815. That was very hard to find. And 1799 was also hard to find. There were no books on coins. No one knew what was rare, what was minted, or anything. So the Dispatch, a New York City newspaper, called upon Augustus Sage, who then was 14 or 15, and also a teaching assistant. People grew up early then and went in profession early, to do a column on coins. And people would write in and say, well, why can't I find a coin of cent of 1815? And he might write back and say, well, they didn't make any. I looked in the mint record and they didn't make any. And that was news. It's not news now. Why is a pine tree shilling? How are they made? And week after week in 1857, he had this column which was very popular. It was one of the first columns ever in a magazine or newspaper on coins. In 1858, the summer of 1858, we had the Atlantic cable stretching from Europe to America. And in August 1858, the first signal went through, beep, beep, beep. And there was a great sensation, great parades in New York City, celebrations, fireworks, and everything else. And a man named George Lovett put out some medals showing the transatlantic cable. It showed Brother Jonathan, that was a name for England, on one side, and Uncle Sam on the other, and the electric cable. And hundreds or thousands of these little medalists were sold. So Augustus Sage took note of this. The Atlantic cable, by the way, sputtered out and failed within a few weeks, and then wasn't restrung until after the Civil War. But it was very exciting at the time. And Augustus Sage said, gosh, if these Atlantic cable medals, which I had nothing to do with, he had nothing to do with, are popular, why don't I make some myself? So he went to the engraver, Lovett, and said, I'd like to have my own series of odds and ends. Well, what do I do? Well, the New York World, the Crystal Palace in New York on October 5th, 1858, burned to the ground. It was a huge glass palace. So this first one shows the Crystal Palace in flames, and on the back the words "all is vanity," which means human efforts. That's from Ecclesiastes actually, but he didn't say that. Human efforts don't amount to much in many instances, and that was called odds and ends number 1. Odds and ends number 2 is the chess prodigy, chess prodigy Paul Morphy, who was from America, went to England, and facing away in the wall, he simultaneously played 6 or 7 games of chess with champions in Europe and beat everybody, and he was a sensation. So the second one was on Morphy, and then he had a third one. Then he went into other series, American history, the numismatic gallery, which showed prominent numismatists, starting with let me see some of the numismatists. One of them starting with senior moment. Anyway, 7 prominent numismatists. Bushnell is number 1. That's it. Charles I. Bushnell. In the meantime, there was no collectors organization. So in New York City, in the Astor Library, financed by John Jacob Astor, they had a little nook with coin books in it. There are no coin books in America, but if you went in this nook, there were several dozen books published in England in particular, and also in France and in Germany. And collectors would meet there, and they would talk coins. And Augustus Sage came up with the idea, why don't we start a coin club? So he sent out a letter with some friends in March of 1858 and said, why don't you meet at my house? He lived at 121 Essex Street, upstairs in an apartment with his mother and siblings. They met there, formed the American Numismatic Society, and now in the 2016 it still exists, but it was founded by a 16-year-old kid. At the same time, Augustus Sage, to go to the coin dealer part of what we're supposed to be doing, had a coin shop on 24 Division Street in downtown Manhattan, where people came and talked coins, sort of like a social club, met each other, bought, sold, traded, and he had some autographs and prints, but primarily coins. Then in 1859, further enshrining him or giving him credentials, coin auctions in the United States were few and far between. There had been 2 coin auctions in 1855, one the Klein collection and one the Flandin collection. No important coin auction at all in 56, none in 57, none in 58, but in 1859 there were 3 of them in New York City, and Augustus Sage cataloged all 3 of them, and that started what Superior and Stack's Bowers Galleries and Heritage and others do today. That was the beginning. They had 3 sales in 1 year. Then beginning in 1860, they had multiple sales, and ever since then, we have more sales than we can count. So Augustus was a pioneer in regular coin sales. Augustus remained active, and through early 1861 issued a medal about the attack on Fort Sumter, then went into the military and served in the Army, and then got out of the military and didn't go back into coins. He went into law. He corresponded with the American Numismatic Society with reminiscences of an old timer, so to speak, and died at the age of 33. Anyway, that's the story of Augustus Sage, and I thought it's a pleasure to honor him. And it's a figure that not too many people know about. We all know about B. Max Mell and so forth, but in his day, Augustus Sage was number 1 without too much competition. Thank you.